The morning sun cast a golden glow over the English countryside as Pippa Middleton stood before her bedroom mirror, her hands trembling slightly as she touched the delicate lace of her wedding dress. Today was the day she had dreamed of since childhood, yet the butterflies in her stomach reminded her that this wasn't just any wedding. Her sister Catherine, now the Duchess of Cambridge, would be watching from the congregation, along with Prince William and Prince Harry. The weight of royal eyes upon her special day felt both thrilling and terrifying. Pippa had always lived in her sister's shadow, but today was meant to be hers alone. She remembered how Catherine's wedding had captured the world's attention, with millions watching as she walked down Westminster Abbey's aisle. Now, as Pippa prepared for her own ceremony at St. Mark's Church in Englefield, she couldn't help but wonder if she would ever truly step out from behind that royal spotlight. Her mother, Carol Middleton, bustled into the room carrying a steaming cup of tea and wearing the kind of determined smile that had gotten the Middleton family through many challenging moments. "Darling, you look absolutely radiant," she said, though Pippa could detect the slight nervousness in her voice. The entire family understood the delicate balance required today. This wedding needed to be elegant enough to honor their royal connections, yet personal enough to celebrate Pippa's love story with James Matthews. As Pippa sipped her tea, she thought about James waiting for her at the altar. Their relationship had weathered public scrutiny, media speculation, and the constant comparisons to Catherine and William's fairy tale romance. James, a successful hedge fund manager and former racing driver, had proven himself worthy of her love through his patience and understanding of the unique pressures that came with being connected to the royal family. The sound of cars arriving outside drew Pippa to the window. She watched as familiar figures emerged from sleek black vehicles. Prince William stepped out first, adjusting his morning coat with the practiced ease of someone accustomed to formal occasions. Prince Harry followed, his red hair catching the sunlight as he scanned the gathering crowd of well-wishers who had lined the streets despite the early hour. Both princes carried themselves with the dignity expected of senior royals, yet Pippa could see the genuine warmth in their expressions as they greeted the other wedding guests. Catherine appeared last, moving with a grace that had made her a beloved figure worldwide. She wore a stunning floral dress that managed to be both elegant and understated, carefully chosen to complement rather than overshadow the bride. Pippa smiled as she watched her sister pause to speak with some of the local children who had gathered with flowers and handmade signs. Even on Pippa's wedding day, Catherine couldn't help but fulfill her royal duties with natural charm. The church bells began their celebratory chiming, and Pippa felt her heart rate quicken. Her bridesmaids, including her young niece Princess Charlotte and nephew Prince George, were already dressed and waiting downstairs. The sight of the royal children in their wedding finery had brought tears to her eyes earlier that morning. Charlotte looked like a miniature princess in her white dress, while George appeared both proud and slightly overwhelmed by his role as a page boy. Pippa's father, Michael Middleton, knocked gently on the door before entering. His eyes immediately welled up with tears as he saw his younger daughter in her wedding gown. "You're absolutely beautiful, sweetheart," he said, his voice thick with emotion. James is the luckiest man in England today. He had always been the steady, supportive presence in the Middleton family, and seeing him so moved reminded Pippa of all the sacrifices her parents had made to give their daughters the best possible life. As the final preparations were made, Pippa reflected on the journey that had brought her to this moment. Growing up in Berkshire, she and Catherine had been inseparable sisters, sharing dreams and supporting each other through every challenge. When Catherine fell in love with William during their university years, the entire family had been swept into a world they could never have imagined. Suddenly, their quiet middle-class life was transformed by royal protocols, security details, and constant media attention. The transition hadn't always been easy for Pippa. While Catherine had trained for her future role as a senior royal, Pippa had struggled to find her own identity in the public eye. Every appearance, every outfit choice, every romantic relationship became fodder for tabloid speculation. She had worked hard to build her own career as a party planner and author, determined to be known for more than just being the Duchess's sister. Meeting James had changed everything. He understood the pressures of public life through his own family's prominence in British society. Yet he loved Pippa for who she truly was, not for her famous connections. Their courtship had been conducted with careful discretion, away from the prying eyes of photographers who seemed to follow Pippa's every move. A soft knock interrupted her thoughts, and Catherine entered the room, looking radiant despite the early hour. "How are you feeling, little sister?" she asked, using the childhood nickname that always made Pippa smile. The sisters embraced carefully, mindful of their elaborate hairstyles and makeup. Nervous, Pippa admitted. Not about marrying James, but about everything else. The cameras, the expectations, making sure everything goes perfectly. Catherine took her sister's hands in hers. "I remember feeling exactly the same way on my wedding morning," she confided. "But once I saw William waiting for me at the altar, everything else faded away. Today is about you and James and your love for each other. Everything else is just decoration." The wisdom in Catherine's words provided the comfort Pippa needed. Her sister had successfully navigated the transition from commoner to royal, and now she was using that experience to help Pippa through her own special day. Despite their different paths, the bond between the sisters remained unbreakable. Outside, the sounds of the gathering congregation grew louder. Friends and family members were taking their seats in the historic church, while security personnel discreetly managed the crowds of well-wishers who had gathered to catch a glimpse of the royal family. The media presence was substantial but carefully controlled, with only approved photographers allowed to capture the ceremony. Pippa's wedding dress, designed by Giles Deacon, was a masterpiece of traditional elegance with a modern twist. The cap-sleeve gown featured delicate beadwork and embroidery that caught the light with every movement. Her veil, held in place by a stunning tiara borrowed from her mother, had been carefully styled to frame her face without overwhelming her natural beauty. As the final moments before the ceremony approached, Pippa felt a sense of calm settling over her. This was her moment, her day to shine, and she was surrounded by the people who mattered most to her. The presence of the royal family was an honor, but it was the love and support of her family and friends that gave her the strength to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The sound of the wedding march beginning to play drifted up from the church below. Pippa took one last look in the mirror, adjusted her veil, and picked up her bouquet of white peonies and roses. Her father offered his arm, his proud smile telling her everything she needed to know. As they prepared to walk downstairs and begin their procession to the church, Pippa felt ready to embrace her future as Mrs. James Matthews, surrounded by the love of those who had supported her throughout her journey to this perfect day. The ancient stones of St. Mark's Church had witnessed countless celebrations over the centuries, but rarely had they housed such a gathering of notable figures. As guests continued to arrive, the small village of Englefield buzzed with excitement that could be felt in every corner of the community. Local residents had risen before dawn to secure the best viewing spots along the route to the church, many clutching small Union Jack flags and homemade signs welcoming the royal family. Inside the church, Prince William and Prince Harry took their seats in the front pew, their presence adding an undeniable sense of occasion to the gathering. William, ever the dutiful older brother to Catherine, had insisted on attending despite his packed royal schedule. His genuine fondness for Pippa was evident in the way he smiled and nodded to other guests, clearly pleased to be celebrating this important family milestone. Harry, meanwhile, seemed more relaxed than his brother, chatting easily with other wedding guests and occasionally glancing toward the door with the anticipation that characterized his more spontaneous nature. His recent relationship with actress Meghan Markle had been the subject of intense media speculation, but today his focus was entirely on supporting his future sister-in-law's special day. The church's interior had been transformed with elegant floral arrangements that complemented rather than competed with the building's historic architecture. White roses, peonies, and eucalyptus created a romantic atmosphere that felt both sophisticated and natural. Pippa had worked closely with her wedding planner to ensure every detail reflected her personal style, while respecting the venue's traditional character. James Matthews stood at the altar, his nervous energy barely contained beneath his composed exterior. As a former racing driver, he was accustomed to high-pressure situations, but nothing had quite prepared him for the intensity of marrying into a family with such close royal connections. His best man, his brother Spencer Matthews, offered words of encouragement while discreetly adjusting James's tie for the third time in as many minutes. The groom's family occupied several pews on the right side of the church, representing a distinguished lineage of British aristocracy and successful business ventures. James's parents had welcomed Pippa into their family with open arms, recognizing in her the intelligence, grace, and independence that made her perfect for their accomplished son. Among the congregation sat a carefully curated guest list that read like a who's who of British high society. Tennis champion Roger Federer, a close friend of Pippa's through her work in sports event management, had flown in from Switzerland specifically for the celebration. His presence highlighted Pippa's connections beyond the royal circle, demonstrating the diverse and accomplished network she had built throughout her career. The church's acoustics carried every whispered conversation and rustling of formal attire as guests settled into their seats. Several of Catherine and Pippa's childhood friends from Marlborough College were present, their faces reflecting the joy of witnessing their friends' happiness, while also showing traces of the awe that came with attending such a high-profile event. Catherine sat with perfect posture, her hands folded gracefully in her lap as she surveyed the scene with the practiced eye of someone who had become expert at reading the dynamics of formal gatherings. She caught the eye of several guests and offered warm smiles, her natural charisma helping to put others at ease despite the grandeur of the occasion. Young Prince George, resplendent in his page boy outfit, kept trying to catch glimpses of the photographers outside through the stained glass windows. His excitement was palpable, and William had to gently redirect his attention several times with patient father-like gestures that reminded everyone present of the prince's dual role as both royal heir and devoted family man. Princess Charlotte, meanwhile, sat perfectly still beside her mother, her small hands carefully arranged in her lap in perfect mimicry of Catherine's posture. At such a young age, she already displayed the natural poise that would serve her well in her future royal duties, though her bright eyes sparkled with the barely contained excitement of a child at a very grown-up party. The village rector, Reverend Nick Wynne Jones, made his final preparations at the altar, his years of experience with high-profile ceremonies evident in his calm demeanor. He had officiated at numerous society weddings, but the presence of senior members of the royal family added layers of protocol and significance that required careful attention to every detail. Outside the church, the crowd of well-wishers continued to grow as news of the royal family's arrival spread through social media and local news networks. Police maintained discreet but effective crowd control, ensuring that the celebration could proceed smoothly while allowing the local community to participate in the joy of the occasion. The wedding photographer, chosen for both his artistic skill and his experience with high-profile clients, positioned himself strategically to capture the ceremony's key moments while remaining as unobtrusive as possible. His challenge was to document this historic family celebration while respecting the privacy and dignity of all involved, particularly the royal family members who had chosen to attend as private citizens rather than in their official capacities. Carol Middleton, resplendent in her carefully chosen mother-of-the-bride outfit, moved through the church greeting guests with the social grace that had helped her family navigate their rise to prominence. Her transformation from flight attendant to mother of a future queen had been remarkable, and her handling of today's complex social dynamics demonstrated the wisdom she had gained through years of supporting her daughters through their public lives. The church's organist began playing softly, filling the sacred space with music that seemed to heighten everyone's anticipation. The selected pieces reflected both traditional wedding ceremony expectations and Pippa's personal preferences, creating a soundtrack that honored the solemnity of the occasion while celebrating the joy of the union about to take place. Several members of Parliament and prominent business leaders dotted the congregation, their presence reflecting both the Middleton family's rise in social circles and James Matthews's connections in the financial world. The guest list represented a fascinating cross-section of British society, from aristocracy to self-made entrepreneurs, all united in their affection for the couple. As the minutes ticked by, the atmosphere in the church grew more charged with anticipation. Conversations gradually quieted as guests recognized that the ceremony was about to begin. The photographers outside had positioned themselves to capture the bride's arrival, while inside the church, all eyes turned toward the entrance doors. James took a deep breath and straightened his shoulders, drawing strength from the supportive presence of his family and friends. His journey to this moment had included overcoming personal challenges and building a successful career, and now he was about to marry the woman who had brought such joy and purpose to his life. The wedding party's final preparations were taking place in the church's vestibule, where Pippa's bridesmaids were making last-minute adjustments to their dresses and ensuring that Princess Charlotte and Prince George were ready for their important roles in the processional. The children's excitement was infectious, adding an element of pure joy to the formal proceedings. William discreetly checked his watch, his royal training evident in his awareness of timing and protocol even during family celebrations. Harry leaned over to whisper something that made his brother smile, their easy camaraderie a reminder that despite their public roles, they remained devoted brothers supporting their extended family. The moment everyone had been waiting for was finally at hand. The church doors would soon open to reveal Pippa in all her bridal glory, ready to walk down the aisle toward her future as Mrs. James Matthews. The congregation settled into expectant silence, ready to witness a ceremony that would be remembered not just for its royal connections, but for the genuine love and happiness that had brought everyone together on this perfect English morning. The church doors opened with ceremonial precision, and a collective gasp of admiration rippled through the congregation as Pippa appeared in the entrance, radiant in her Giles deacon gown. The morning sunlight streaming through the doorway created a natural spotlight that seemed to illuminate her from within, transforming her into a vision of bridal perfection that would be remembered by everyone present for years to come. Michael Middleton stood beside his daughter, his pride evident in every line of his face as he prepared to walk her down the aisle. The man who had once been a simple airline dispatcher had adapted remarkably well to the extraordinary circumstances that had befallen his family, and today he carried himself with the dignity of someone who understood the historic significance of the moment while never losing sight of his primary role as Pippa's loving father. The processional began with the wedding party moving in carefully choreographed formation. Princess Charlotte walked with perfect composure for such a young child, her white dress flowing gracefully as she scattered rose petals along the ancient stone pathway. Her natural grace and poise drew admiring glances from the congregation, many of whom recognized her the same qualities that had made her mother such a beloved public figure. Prince George followed behind his sister, carrying the wedding rings on a small silk pillow with the serious concentration that the task demanded. His page boy outfit had been tailored to perfection, and his careful steps showed his determination to fulfill his important responsibility without mishap. William watched his son with paternal pride, remembering his own childhood appearances at formal family events and the lessons in duty and service that had been instilled in him from an early age. The other bridesmaids, close friends of Pippa's from various chapters of her life, moved with synchronized elegance down the aisle. Their dresses, chosen to complement rather than compete with the bride's gown, created a harmonious visual that spoke to Pippa's excellent taste and attention to detail. Each woman represented a different aspect of Pippa's journey, from school friendships to professional relationships to family connections. As Pippa began her walk down the aisle on her father's arm, the congregation rose as one in a rustling of silk and, well, that seemed to echo through the centuries-old church. Catherine turned to watch her sister's approach, her eyes shining with tears of joy that she discreetly wiped away while maintaining her composed public demeanor. The sisters' eyes met for a moment across the crowded church, sharing a look of pure love and understanding that transcended all the formality surrounding them. Prince William stood with the rest of the congregation, his expression reflecting genuine happiness for his sister-in-law's special day. His presence at the ceremony represented more than mere family obligation. It demonstrated the deep affection that had developed between him and Pippa over the years since his marriage to Catherine. Their relationship had evolved from polite acquaintance to genuine friendship, built on mutual respect and shared commitment to Catherine's happiness. Harry's reaction was more spontaneous, his broad smile and barely contained excitement adding warmth to the formal proceedings. His natural charisma and genuine pleasure in the moment helped put other guests at ease, reminding everyone that despite the grandeur of the occasion, this was fundamentally a celebration of love between two people who had found happiness together. James Matthews felt his breath catch as he saw his bride approaching. All the nervous energy that had been building throughout the morning transformed into pure joy as he watched the woman he loved walking toward their shared future. His racing career had taught him to focus intensely on crucial moments, and now every fiber of his being concentrated on this perfect instant when his life was about to change forever. The church's architecture seemed to frame the processional perfectly, with shafts of colored light from the stained glass windows, creating an almost ethereal atmosphere around the bridal party. The ancient stones that had witnessed countless ceremonies over the centuries seemed to approve of this latest celebration, their enduring presence adding weight and significance to the modern love story unfolding within their embrace. Pippa's bouquet, a carefully crafted arrangement of white peonies, roses, and sweet peas, trembled slightly in her hands as she processed down the aisle. The flowers had been chosen not just for their beauty, but for their symbolic meaning. Peonies representing honor and good fortune, roses symbolizing love and devotion, and sweet peas expressing gratitude for the pleasure of knowing someone special. The wedding guests seated throughout the church represented a fascinating tapestry of British society and international connections. Tennis stars sat beside business moguls. Childhood friends mingled with media personalities, and family members from both sides of the union created a congregation that reflected the diverse and accomplished lives that Pippa and James had built for themselves. As father and daughter reached the halfway point of their journey down the aisle, Pippa caught sight of several faces that brought particular meaning to the moment. Her university friends from Edinburgh, where she had studied English literature, beamed with pride at seeing their former classmate achieving such happiness. Their presence connected this grand occasion to the more intimate friendships that had sustained Pippa through the challenges of living in the public eye. The church's acoustics carried the gentle sounds of the processional music throughout the sacred space, creating an audio backdrop that enhanced rather than overwhelmed the visual spectacle unfolding before the congregation. The organist, a master of his craft, had chosen pieces that honored both the traditional nature of the Anglican ceremony and the personal preferences of the bride and groom. Reverend Wyn Jones waited at the altar with the patient dignity that came from years of officiating at significant life events. His presence provided a spiritual anchor for the ceremony, reminding everyone present that beneath all the pageantry and protocol, they were witnessing a sacred commitment between two people who had chosen to bind their lives together in the sight of God and their community. The photographer discreetly captured each moment of the processional, his experienced eye finding angles that would preserve the beauty and emotion of the scene without intruding on its sanctity. His challenge was to document this historic family moment while respecting the privacy and dignity of all involved, particularly the royal family members who had chosen to attend as beloved relatives rather than in their official capacities. Carol Middleton watched her daughter's approach with a mixture of overwhelming pride and bittersweet recognition that this moment marked Pippa's transition from the family home into her own married life. The mother who had sacrificed so much to give her daughters the best possible opportunities was now witnessing the fulfillment of those investments in the form of Pippa's obvious happiness and the distinguished man who had won her heart. As the processional neared its conclusion, the emotional intensity in the church reached its peak. Pippa's radiant smile as she looked toward James waiting at the altar communicated more eloquently than words the joy she felt in this moment. The months of planning, the pressure of public scrutiny, and the complexity of coordinating a wedding with royal connections all faded into insignificance compared to the simple truth that she was about to marry the man she loved. The final steps of the processional brought Pippa and her father to the altar, where James stepped forward to receive his bride with a look of such pure adoration that it brought tears to the eyes of many guests. The formal handover from father to groom was conducted with the dignity appropriate to the occasion, but the underlying emotion was unmistakable as Michael Middleton entrusted his daughter's happiness to the man who had proven himself worthy of her love. As Pippa took her place beside James at the altar, the congregation settled back into their seats with a collective sense of satisfaction at having witnessed something truly special. The ceremony that would follow would be conducted according to traditional Anglican rites, but everyone present understood that they were participating in a unique moment that perfectly blended royal grandeur with personal intimacy, creating memories that will be cherished by all who were privileged to share in this extraordinary celebration of love. Reverend Wyn Jones began the ceremony with the traditional words that had united countless couples throughout the centuries, his voice carrying clearly through the hushed church as he welcomed the congregation to witness this sacred union. The familiar phrases of the Anglican wedding service provided a comforting framework for the extraordinary gathering, reminding everyone present that despite the unique circumstances surrounding this particular ceremony, they were participating in one of humanity's oldest and most cherished rituals. Pippa and James stood facing each other at the altar, their hands joined as they prepared to exchange the vows that would bind them together as husband and wife. The intensity of their focus on each other was apparent to everyone in the church, creating an intimate bubble around the couple that somehow made the grand surroundings fade into the background. Their love story, which had begun in the exclusive social circles of London society, was now reaching its perfect conclusion in this historic village church. Prince William listened to the familiar words of the wedding service with particular attention, remembering his own wedding day when similar vows had been exchanged before a global audience of millions. The contrast between his Westminster Abbey ceremony and this more intimate celebration highlighted the different paths that royal and royal-adjacent families could take while still honoring tradition and commitment to each other. Catherine watched her sister with undisguised emotion, her royal training in maintaining public composure temporarily overwhelmed by the joy of seeing Pippa achieve such obvious happiness. The sisters had supported each other through every challenge life had presented, from their father's business struggles to the intense media scrutiny that had followed Catherine's relationship with William. Now Catherine was witnessing Pippa's reward for her patience and grace under pressure. When a moment came for Pippa and James to exchange their personal vows, the church fell into complete silence except for the gentle sounds of their voices carrying their most heartfelt promises to each other. Pippa spoke first, her words carefully chosen to express not just her love for James, but her gratitude for his understanding of the unique pressures that came with her family connections. Her voice remained steady despite the emotion of the moment, demonstrating the same composure under pressure that had made her such an effective party planner and public figure. James's vows revealed the depth of his commitment, not just to Pippa, but to the life they would build together, acknowledging the challenges they would face as a couple in the public, while affirming his determination to protect and cherish the woman who had brought such joy to his existence. His background in high-pressure situations served him well as he delivered his promises with confidence and sincerity that resonated throughout the church. Princess Charlotte and Prince George sat quietly beside their parents, their young minds processing this important family moment with the seriousness that their upbringing had taught them to bring to formal occasions. Charlotte occasionally glanced at her aunt with admiration. While George seemed fascinated by the ceremonial aspects of the proceedings, his future role as king making such formal events a part of his education from the earliest age. The exchange of rings provided another moment of intense emotion as Pippa and James placed the symbols of their eternal commitment on each other's fingers. The rings themselves were works of art, chosen to reflect their personal style while honoring the significance of the promises they represented. The simple gold bands would serve as daily reminders of this perfect moment when their lives officially became intertwined. Harry found himself deeply moved by the ceremony, perhaps thinking of his own romantic future as he watched his brother-in-law's sister pledge her love to a man who clearly adored her. His recent relationship with Meghan had shown him the possibility of finding someone who could understand and support him through the unique challenges of royal life, and seeing Pippa's happiness reinforced his own hopes for lasting love. The congregation joined in the traditional hymns with voices that seemed to lift the ancient church roof with their collective joy. Jerusalem rang out with particular power, the words Blake's poem taking on special meaning in this quintessentially English setting where love was triumphing over all obstacles. The music connected every person present to the centuries of tradition that had preceded this moment, and would continue long after everyone in attendance had passed from memory. Carol and Michael Middleton sat with their hands clasped together, their own long marriage serving as the foundation for their daughter's understanding of what true partnership could accomplish. Their journey from middle-class obscurity to the center of British high society had been remarkable, but their greatest achievement was clearly the loving, confident women they had raised who were now making their own marks on the world. When Reverend Wyn-Jones reached the moment of pronouncing Pippa and James' husband and wife, the words seemed to hang in the air with special significance before the couple sealed their union with a kiss that was both tender and triumphant. The applause that followed was spontaneous and heartfelt, expressing the genuine happiness of everyone present for this couple who had found their perfect match in each other. The register signing took place in the church vestry, with Catherine and William serving as witnesses alongside James's brother Spencer. The intimate moment allowed the immediate family to share congratulations away from the larger congregation while ensuring that all legal requirements were properly fulfilled. The historic church register now bore the signatures of future king and queen alongside those of the newlyweds, creating a permanent record of this extraordinary family celebration. As the newly married couple prepared to make their exit from the church, Pippa paused to embrace her parents with tears of joy flowing freely down her cheeks. Michael Middleton whispered something in his daughter's ear that made her laugh through her tears, while Carol simply held her youngest child close, savoring this perfect moment when all their sacrifices and support had culminated in such obvious happiness. The processional music began to play as Mr. and Mrs. James Matthews prepared to walk back down the aisle as husband and wife, their faces glowing with the joy of their new status and the love of the family and friends who had gathered to celebrate with them. The same pathway that Pippa had traveled as a nervous bride now welcomed her return as a confident married woman, ready to face whatever challenges and joys awaited her in her new life. Princess Charlotte and Prince George took their places in the processional with the pride of children who had successfully completed an important task. Their participation in the ceremony had been flawless, and their obvious pleasure in their aunt's happiness added an extra dimension of family warmth to the formal proceedings. The congregation rose once again as the wedding party began their triumphant exit, the rustling of formal attire and murmurs of congratulation creating a symphony of celebration that seemed to embody the collective joy of everyone present. The ancient stones of St. Mark's Church had witnessed another perfect beginning, and the love that had been celebrated within its walls would now venture forth into the world to create new chapters in the continuing story of the Middleton family's extraordinary journey. The photographer captured the final moments of the ceremony with discretion and artistry, preserving forever the images of pure happiness that would become treasured family memories for generations to come. The formal portraits would grace newspapers and magazines around the world, but the most precious photographs would be those that captured the genuine emotion of a family celebrating one of life's greatest joys together. The church doors swung open to reveal a scene of celebration that exceeded even Pippa's most optimistic expectations. Hundreds of well-wishers lined the pathway from St. Mark's Church, their enthusiastic cheers and applause creating a tunnel of joy through which the newly married couple would make their first public appearance as husband and wife. The early morning clouds had given way to brilliant sunshine that seemed to bless the union with nature's own approval. Pippa emerged from the church with James at her side, her wedding dress catching the light as she paused on the threshold to wave to the crowd. The transformation from nervous bride to radiant wife was complete, and her obvious happiness seemed to spread like sunshine through the gathering of friends, family, and local residents who had come to share in this special moment. Her bouquet remained perfectly arranged despite the emotional ceremony, a testament to her attention to detail even on her most overwhelming day. The royal family followed behind the newlyweds, with Prince William and Catherine managing their public roles with the practiced ease that had made them such beloved figures worldwide. William acknowledged the crowd with subtle nods and smiles while maintaining the dignified bearing appropriate to his position, while Catherine's natural warmth shone through as she caught the eyes of several children in the crowd and offered them special waves that delighted their parents. Prince Harry's more relaxed approach to crowd interaction was evident as he took a moment to speak with some of the well-wishers, his genuine interest in people making him a natural ambassador for royal family accessibility. His easy smile and informal manner helped bridge the gap between the formal ceremony and the celebration that would continue throughout the day. Princess Charlotte and Prince George emerged from the church holding hands, their successful completion of their wedding duties evident in their proud smiles. Charlotte's dress remained pristine despite her active role in the ceremony, while George clutched a small memento that Pippa had given him as a thank you for his excellent service as page boy. The sight of the royal children participating so naturally in the family celebration provided heartwarming images that would be treasured by royal watchers around the world. The professional photographers, positioned strategically around the church grounds, captured every moment of the couple's first public appearances as Mr. and Mrs. Matthews. Their experienced eyes found the perfect shots that would grace newspapers and magazines, while respecting the boundaries that had been carefully established to ensure the royal family's privacy and dignity were maintained throughout the festivities. Local police had managed the crowd control with impressive efficiency, ensuring that the celebration could proceed smoothly while allowing genuine community participation in the joy of the occasion. The residents of Englefield had embraced the excitement of hosting such a significant event, with many having decorated their homes and businesses with flowers and bunting that created a festive atmosphere throughout the village. Carol and Michael Middleton followed their daughter and new son-in-law from the church, their pride evident in every step as they acknowledged the congratulations of friends and acquaintances in the crowd. The couple who had worked so hard to provide opportunities for their daughters were now seeing the fruits of their sacrifices in the form of Pippa's obvious happiness and successful marriage to a man who clearly adored her. The receiving line that formed outside the church allowed close family and friends to offer their personal congratulations to the newlyweds. Each embrace and handshake represented years of friendship and support that had sustained Pippa through the challenges of living in the public eye and helped her reach this moment of triumph. The genuine warmth of these interactions contrasted beautifully with the more formal aspects of the ceremony. James's family integrated seamlessly into the celebration, their aristocratic background having prepared them well for events of this magnitude, while their genuine affection for Pippa was obvious in their warm embraces and happy tears. The merger of the two families represented not just a union of individuals, but a blending of different aspects of British high society that reflected the evolving nature of modern social structures. The wedding cars, decorated with white ribbons and flowers, waited to transport the happy couple to their reception venue. The choice of vehicles struck the perfect balance between elegance and accessibility, grand enough to honor the significance of the occasion, but not so ostentatious as to overshadow the personal nature of the celebration. As guests began making their way to their own vehicles for the journey to the reception, conversations buzzed with appreciation for the beautiful ceremony they had just witnessed. Many commented on how perfectly the event had balanced its royal connections with the intimate nature of a family celebration, allowing everyone present to feel included in something truly special. The children from the local village school, who had been given permission to watch the proceedings from a designated area, waved flags, and called out congratulations with the uninhibited joy that only children can provide. Their presence added an element of community celebration that reminded everyone that this wedding was not just a private family matter, but a moment of happiness that the entire area could share. Catherine took a moment to speak with some of the young bridesmaids, offering them encouragement and praise for their excellent performance during the ceremony. Her natural ability to connect with children was evident as she knelt to their level and engaged with them personally, creating memories they would treasure for the rest of their lives. The weather continued to cooperate perfectly as if nature itself was celebrating the union, with gentle breezes keeping everyone comfortable and sunshine providing the ideal lighting for photographs that would become family treasures. The English countryside had never looked more beautiful, with the ancient church serving as the perfect backdrop for a thoroughly modern love story. As Pippa and James prepared to leave for their reception, they took one last moment to wave to the crowd and express their gratitude for the warm welcome they had received. The genuine emotion on their faces as they looked out at all the people who had come to celebrate with them provided a perfect ending to the ceremony portion of their wedding day. The convoy of cars began its journey through the Berkshire countryside toward the reception venue, passing through villages where additional well-wishers had gathered along the roadside to catch a glimpse of the royal family and offer their congratulations to the happy couple. The drive provided a peaceful interlude between the formal ceremony and the celebration that awaited them. The success of the morning's events had exceeded everyone's expectations, proving that it was possible to honor royal traditions while maintaining the personal touches that made this celebration uniquely Pippa and James's own. The balance between public interest and private joy had been achieved through careful planning and the genuine love that surrounded the couple from all quarters. As the last of the guests departed St. Mark's Church, the ancient building settled back into its peaceful state, but the memories of this perfect wedding day would linger in its stones forever. The ceremony had added another chapter to the continuing story of the Middleton family's remarkable journey from middle-class origins to the heart of British society, proving that love, determination, and family support could overcome any obstacle and create moments of pure magic that would be remembered for generations to come.